Hey, oops, excuse me. Come on back in so we getting ready to cook with grease, honey. Guess what? We are in the good section. Now, part one was just to inform you how the elite and who was in charge and how they control the system and how they took the gold, the silver, and the minerals of the land and housed them for themselves, and how they created false money, fiat, the money we've been using, paper money. It's fake. It never existed. It only exists because we believe it exists, because we can see it. So therefore, we say it exists. If you can't see it, you say it don't exist. That's just like being a spiritual person, knowing who you are, what you are, and knowing that your capabilities over exceeds the mind of most of the people on this earth, knowing that you have seen things that are unspeakable. You have seen things that people will never believe. For example, today I did a video on YouTube, and it was a very good video. I haven't posted it yet. I don't know if I'm going to post it because I might really, really offend a person on there. But I said something. I said the most important thing for us to do as a people is to stop believing in all the lies that they have given us and stop believing in the program that we've been under and come together. And when I said that, I have a Dieffenbachia, a plant in the corner, y'all. That plant started trembling. I kid you not. That's how powerful the words that was coming out of my mouth and the energetic value as to what I was saying. It was so powerful that plant felt it. Now, I was on, like I said, I didn't put the video out. I don't know if I will or not, but I may do another one and kind of calm the video down somewhat. But, I don't know. Because, like I said, I'm not trying to offend anyone. And I know that people perceptions of things are kind of low, especially if, like I said, I'm not trying to put anybody down. But sometimes most of the people that are caught up, well, let's say just caught up and believe, I'm not telling anybody what to believe, like in the Bible and all that, the things that are in the Bible, they're functioning kind of low here. Their subconscious mind have not been advanced because it's still stuck on the program that the so-called elite, um, what do you call these people, have given you. Those people in part one, you're going to have to go back and listen to part one to get into part two, unless you are kind of familiar with this this type of teaching. Like I said, part one is just to give you the dates with the different presidents. All that is letting you know, guys, that everybody who become a president, life is threatened because some of them truly don't believe in what is taking place here on this here earth, and they are targeted, and some of them have become dead. And some believe and some go along with the program. Everybody that has been a president know about this fiat money. They know about the straw man. They know about the injustice that have been done to us, but yet and still they don't do anything about it. It don't matter who they are. Obamas, Biden, the Kamalas, um, the Bushes, the Carters, everybody knew. They know about this monetary system. So you need to we need to treat them as such, which I do. I don't believe in them people. I don't put nobody ahead of me. I'm gonna be straight up with you right there. Ain't nobody on this earth more important than me. So I look out for myself first. Even though, I have loved ones here, but you have to value yourself before you put value on another person. Think about that. I want you to think about that when you posting about these so-called black people, these so-called presidents. And neither one is here from the United States, Kamala nor Obama. But y'all want to call them. But anyway, we ain't going to get into that. But anyway, this is part two. The so-called elites have a few big secrets. Okay? Now we're going to start this off. And I hope you can understand this here. And then we're going to get into the straw man. It's what really going to make your mind go bonk, bonk, bonk. And you really going to want to know more about the straw man. Okay? So he starts off saying, here are a few questions that I would like you to answer. Number one, when was slavery abolished? Number two, was slavery legal? Number three, are you in debt to financial institution? Okay, and I'm going to give you the answers. When was slavery abolished? Slavery has never been abolished. And you yourself are considered to be a slave right now. Okay, we looking at this as underneath the statutes and the codes and how they took our birth certificate. And they've used the death certificates also. But now let's talk about how they took the birth certificates and formed a entity on paper, LSU. That's what we're talking about now. So relate that to this. Was slavery legal? Yes, slavery is legal, although it is not lawful. So you need to discover the difference between legal and lawful, okay? Number three, are you in debt to a financial institution? No, you are not in debt to any financial institution. So further on down, I'm going to explain why I tell you why this book is saying that. Did you know paying tax is optional? Registering a vehicle is optional. Paying a fine is optional. Attending a court is optional. I want you to think about, like I said, how um, the Rockefellers, how they built the system up now. I want you to think of it on a level like that. How everything that they did was not legal. I think that's the right word, legal. Can't be lawful. But anyway, how they did this here. Nope, it was not lawful. They did it underneath the guise of legal and underneath the paperwork, but it was not, I think it was not lawful. Okay? Now, you can if you want to, but you don't have to. See, and another thing, y'all, forgot what I was getting ready to say. Now, if you are not blown away already by this information that I have provided, then let's try this here for size. Every mortgage and loan is fully prepaid after day one to day three. You can pay it again if you want to, but you don't have to. Okay? You are volunteering to pay it again. It's called double dipping. The so called elites have created a shadow you, a fictitious entity that looks like you, sounds like you. In fact, it's you on paper, but in actually it's not you. And that entity is a legal person, the straw man. Okay? So go back and listen to this video over again. Now, let me say that again for the ones in the back. The so called elites have created a shadow you, a fictitious entity that looks like you, sounds like you. In fact, it's you on paper, but in actuality, it's not you. And that entity is a legal person, the straw man. Every man, woman, and child has a straw man that was created for them at birth. Your straw man was created when you were very young, far too young to know anything about it. But then it was meant to be a secret, as its purpose is to swindle you. And it has been used very effectively to do just that ever since it was created. Okay? Now, this is information that's the Moors, some of the people in the Moorish community was teaching. They knew this, right? But they were charging people for this information $1,500, $3,000 to be server because they know the regular people didn't know this. That was a way that you can get out of the straw man situation. Okay? That you could get them to stop using your birth certificate. Okay? Maybe it is about time that you learn about your straw man and how you can stop it from being used against you. Knowing about it is the most important first step. You need to go on a journey of discovery. And I'm afraid that what you are about to discover is not very pleasant. However, if you decide to act on what you learn, it could change your life for the better. If you think that you are in debt, then you can get out of it. If you are willing to stand up for your rights and refuse to be swindled any longer, enter stand. Any longer interested. If so, then let's start at the beginning and find out where your straw man came from and why you should care about it. This fraud started when your parents, listen to me closely, people, when your parents decided to get together and have some wild fun that led to an event, and as a result, you entered the world. You don't know exactly when that was because you are not aware of the days of the week, the months of the year, or even what year it was. Even after some months had gone by, you still were not aware of these things. But by that time, your straw man had already been created, and it was being used to make some very unscrupulous people rich. None of this was your fault. It happened because your parents were fooled into thinking that they needed to register your birth. Remember back in the beginning chapter where I read where they started making people birth certificates and making them having passports and stuff? Okay. None of this was your fault. It happened because your parents were fooled into thinking that they needed to register your birth, and get a birth certificate for you. Now that pisses me off totally. So they applied for a birth certificate. You notice that? They said we applied for it, even though they brought the birth certificates and told us that they need to register us. Sounds like we could have refused to register because they willingly just bring it to you, and that's something they tell you that you have to do. So they applied for a birth certificate, not understanding what would happen when they did. In other words, your parents were tricked into a fraudulent contract without their free and prior informed consent. And as a result, you are contracted as well. Okay? Well, then, what did happen? According to the local authority, they lost ownership of their baby, you. They allowed a straw man to be created. That's the second. Straw man don't mean nothing but money, y'all. You may or may not blame your parents for their ignorance in this situation, but let's be fair. Nobody told them it would, or even could happen. We just didn't know these things. Nor did anybody tell them what a straw man is or how it came to be used against their baby. In actual fact, the registration is a contract, and in reality, it is null and void because was no full disclosure by the local authority, nor was there intent to contract on the part of the parents. Okay? That's a loophole. The registering of a baby's birth actually passes ownership of the baby to the state or the federal government. And that alone allows the state or the federal government staff to take the child away from the parents if they ever want to do that. And that's what they do, y'all. You notice how they do that. They come in the parents' home and they take that child, regardless of what the parents say. This applies until the child reaches the age of maturity set by the current legal statutes. Doing that is not lawful, but after the birth has been registered, it is legal. And there is a world of difference between those two terms. Y'all need to get this book and read it. A difference which it is very important that you come to understand very clearly. There is no application for a birth certificate. The state creates one, no matter what, with or without any parents provided information. The paper on which they provide information is called information. It's called an information sheet. They do bring in that information sheet, come to think of it, not an application. The parent sign on the parent signs only as informant, not as any applicant. Y'all know what? These people tricked us. The baby is not registered at all. Only the birth event is registered, which is the birthing of the new fictitious entity, name being created by the state. Do y'all get it? Oh, have mercy. Okay. The state then issues you a certified copy of the original, which the state keeps as legal title to that fictitious entity name. You merely use the state-owned legal person to conduct any commerce within the state-regulated legal system of commerce, all of which is just fiction. You know how they tell you, but you need your birth certificate to sign the child up for school. You need your birth certificate to apply for all these food stamps or whatever. Oh, how they fooled us. Okay. Even when the parents signed as informant, that was not their signature. They signed, but the signature for the fiction name the state owns and created after they were born. Y'all just burning me up in here. I'm getting hot underneath my collar thinking about this. Everyone who has a copy of the birth certificate is authorized by the state to use the state property. Oh, so they're going to authorize us. You get this? Y'all get this? Are you really getting this? Name and authorized to sign that name for that name. Everything you use that name for is all liability of the state. In other words, they own you. They own me. They own my child. They own you, period. Okay? Um, that's what y'all just here burning me up. Ain't gonna tell no lie. I'm here sitting here just fanning, just reading this here information. Woo! Mm. The only reason everyone has problems from using their that name is only because they believe that is their property. So that so they make claims to that name because of merely believing that is their property, which is actually a false claim they make against state owned property. Hold on a minute, I got to pop me a black walnut here. Mm, 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 mm. Y'all, mm, 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 mm. These people done fooled us. Mm. What y'all think? Hit me up in the comments and let me know if you understand what I'm saying. If it don't, hit me up so we can get some help. And if I can't help you, I can find somebody to help you. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. Anytime a claim is made in a court, that claim must be bonded or insured. So your claim becomes your consent, where you pledge your body and or property as your bond insurance as surety against your claim. When you lose, they take your body and put it in jail while their bond created created cures, or they take your property to pay your loss in court for your claim which you made. You get that? Anytime a claim is made in any court, that claim must be bond or insured. I guess they're using your birth certificate against that so they can get money from it. So your claim becomes your consent, where you pledge your body and or property as your bond insurance as surety against your claim. When you lose, they take your body and put it in jail while their bond, they bond created cures, or they take your property to pay your loss in court for your claim which you made. If you use their property name properly and do not claim it or anything registered in that name, then they have no consent from you and no claim by you. And the state then must settle any claim against their property. Excuse me. Name. It is as simple as that. Anytime a name has a last name, including that is a fiction name. There is no last name for a living man or woman. This is getting deep, y'all. Only a given name, first, middle. So unless there is only a first middle name where no last name exists at all, then the name is not for a man or woman. It does not matter how it's spelled at all. It only matters whether it includes a last name or not. That is what that is what the difference between a name for a living being and a fiction name. You will not find a birth certificate that does not have a last name. Okay. In fact, no name can be the human. The human can only be called by a name. John is the name that human would be called. There is no last name attached. The only way to properly refer to a human by a name is where you would have write the man called by John. Man is man and woman is woman, no matter what man is not John, woman is not Jane. Man is only called by John, and woman is only called by Jane. Oh, okay. John Doe or Jane Doe is fiction and has nothing at all to do with a living man or woman. Hmm. Of course, when one actually knows thyself, then they know all those codes and statutes and their definitions are not important at all because they know none of it applies to them anyway. They don't even volunteer anymore as a participant to that fictitious legal society because they know that it has nothing to do with them and they are not party to it. Mm. Allow me to prove that there is no such thing as a last name. There is a saying, family comes first. Well, if that is true, then why is your family name last? Just a little something more for you to think about. Y'all get it? Okay. Now let's talk about the straw man. So, what really is a straw man? A straw man is a fictitious legal entity created with the hope that as the child grows up, he or she will be fooled. Oh, let's see, into believing that he or she is actually the straw man, which he most definitely is not, and pay all sorts of imaginary costs and liabilities which get attached to the straw man by their fraudulent entities. Why create a straw man? The answer is in order to charge the straw man imaginary costs and penalties and fool the human John Doe or Jane Doe into paying those amounts. These imaginary charges include income tax, council tax, inheritance tax, capital gains tax, road tax, import tax, value added tax, fuel levy, loan interest, bank charges, and anything else that full time professionals can think of and are confident that you will not notice that you never agree to pay and don't need to pay. We, the American people, speak three languages: slang, American Standard English, and legalese. What is slang? A type of language that consists of words and phrases that are regarded as very informal are more common in speech than writing and are typically restricted to a particular contact, a group of people, as per Google definition. However, in layman's term, it is the language of the streets, the everyday common man and woman language. Number two, what is American Standard English? That is the language that is being taught in schools, colleges, and universities. What are legalese? Legalese is a secret language invented by the legal society, the bar, to trick you. It uses English words but attaches secret meaning to those words with the sole intention of stopping you believing that what they are saying to you has nothing to do with the normal meaning in English language. Their purpose is to cheat you and defraud you. Okay. For example, they will say to you, "Do you understand?" In English, that means, "Do you comprehend what I'm saying to you?" This is when I guess you in court or whatever. And the automatic response would be yes, meaning I do comprehend what you are saying to me. But these deceiving entities, underhand people, have changed the meaning and legalese to mean, "Do you stand under me?" Meaning, "Do you grant me authority over you so that you have to obey whatever I tell you?" Do you get the wordplay? When you say, when they ask you, "Do you understand?" That means you standing under them. They are over you. Do you see where I went with that? They fooling you, belittling you, or us. Why is this important and why you should have every reason to be concerned? The fact is, they would never tell you that they have switched from English to legalese, okay? That's a legalese thing that they did. And if that is not dishonest, underhand, and unscrupulous, then I don't know what is. If you answer the question believing that English is being spoken, then they pretend that you are contracting with them to be subordinate to them. Whether or not that is actually true is debatable because that is effectively a verbal contract between you and them. And for any contract to be valid, there has to be full and open disclosure of all of the terms of the contract. And then unreserved acceptance by both parties. And in these cases, that has most definitely not occurred. But what is the point in all of this? Well, this maneuver is intended to trick you into agreeing to represent your straw man. Your straw man is the invisible on paper man that they made from your birth certificate or your registration. Why? And it's a bond. Your birth certificate is a bond where you could get money from it. That's why they did it. Why? Now, that is a good question, but to answer it takes a bit of explaining, and you need to understand the overall situation. All humans are born equal with complete freedom of choice and action. If you live in the same place as a lot of people, there are a few restrictions which has developed by common consent over time. These restrictions are for your protection and the protection of the other people living near you. These restrictions are called the law, or more accurately, common law, and they are few in number and very easy to understand. Okay? They are: you must not injure or kill anyone. You must not steal or damage things owned by somebody else. You must be honest in your dealings and not defraud anyone. But they defraud you. They lie to you. These laws have resulted from hundreds of years of disputes, which have been dealt with through using common sense and the opinions of ordinary people. They are the only limitations on you. And if you don't want to abide by them, that's your prerogative. But then you need to go to some isolated place and stay away from other people. Many people think that there are hundreds of other laws which they have to keep and new ones every other day. But that is not so. Those other things are called statutes, and keeping them is optional for you, the man or woman. But they are not optional for your fictitious straw man, your all capital letter name. And that is why the people who benefit from those things want to persuade you to represent your straw man and so become subject to all of their invented restrictions and charges that comes with their statutes and codes. If you knew that they were voluntary, would you agree to give most of your earnings away in taxes and similar charges, pay to own a vehicle, pay for any license, pay to travel on roads which were built with your money, pay tolls to travel your own land, be forced to join armed service if you are told to send an army which is supposed to represent you into another country to murder innocent people there. Were you ever told that those things are voluntary? If you agree to represent your straw man, then these things become binding on you. These are some of the statutes which politicians keep inventing in order to make you poor, make them and their friends rich, and keep you in a position where you have to do everything they say, no matter how much they harm you and does away with your natural rights and sovereignty given to you by the Creator. However, the unbeknown may say, we elect a government to represent us, and so we have to do what they say. After all, they have our best interests at heart, don't they? No. Well, then, that is very humble thought, but is it actually true? No, it isn't. You think that you elect politicians who represent you and your government, but that is not what you actually do. That is part of a very careful, false illusion intended to keep you in your place and giving most of your earnings away, typically. 80% of all your earn. Part of the secret is that what is supposed to be your government is actually a privately owned for profit company, and all that you do when voted is help choose to serving officers inside that company. It will never make the slightest difference to what happens in the future, as the company policy and actions are controlled by the owners of the company, and that they are not influenced in any other way whatsoever by what you want. I'm assuming at this point all this information may be mind boggling, and you may still be in doubt thinking all of this is far fetched. Well, then, check it out via Don and Bradstreet or any of other places which records the setting up and the performance of the 160 billion commercial companies worldwide. When you do that, take the UK for example, you will discover that the House of Commons is a commercial for profit company number UC2279443. The Labour Party is a commercial company which trades under the name of Alistair Darling, MP, the House of Lords, which is the highest court in the land. It's a private company, the United Kingdom Corporation, formerly known as the United Kingdom PLC, and which never complied with the law which requires to file its financial records. It's also a private company. The Ministry of Justice, DUNS number 22 549 8526, Directors Lord Falconer of Thornton, is a private company set up in the year 1600. The Bank of England is a private company, as it is in every court and every police force, and even the Secretary of State for Trade and Industry is a company and not a person. You get it? This is how they funnel money without birth certificates through these different corporations. It gets even more ridiculous when you discover that the Devon and Cornwall Police is a company which has been taken over by a company owned by IBM, which is paid an annual budget of 256 800,000 taken from members of the public. Gilbert and Sullivan would have loved this reality as a script for one of their comedies. Lancashire County Council was incorporated as a company. You got the UCP code number in there. Its registered office was third floor, Christchurch Precinct, County Hall, Preston, and it was completely dissolved on the 25th of January 2008, and all of its assets and liabilities were transferred on the 12th of November in '07 to another company, the Blues and Twos Credit Union, Ltd., whose registered address is Lancashire Police Headquarters in Huntington, Preston. Do you, by any chance, get the feeling that you are being taken advantage of, that we are being played? I'm going to finish out these guys, and this is going to be video number 2, because I'm 41 minutes and I'm going to hurry up. I guess you may be asking, well, what about the United States? And you have every right to. After all, we live in so-called United States, don't we? Not only is the United States a corporation, it ain't no state, but the judicial branch of the U.S. government is also a Delaware corporation. Delaware SOS file number, check this out, 3383789, listed in Dun and Bradstreet. You could go to Dun and Bradstreet, all this information I read you with these codes, and see. The following is the DUNS number for Judicial Branch of U.S. Government. DUNS number 956858625 as well. Google Title 28, Section 302, Subsection 15A, United States is a federal corporation, y'all. The judicial branch of the U.S. government corporation includes U.S. government law court administrative supreme and U.S. district appellate, veterans, probate, bankruptcy, states, courts, Inc. So our courts, from the Supreme Court down to state courts, are corporate policy, as in police. If you look closely, every town and city in the U.S. is a corporation, as are the various departments within each town. It is insane, but that's fact. Just in case you are not aware of it, the purpose of any commercial for profit company or corporation is to make money for its own and shareholders, if there are any. The people whom you think of as the government don't do anything which earns money. Instead, they take money from you, and their main job is to make sure that you don't realize that they are in the same position as companies such as IBM. So why all these pretense of being a genuine government which you elect and you serve you? They don't want you to understand that they are just running a company which produces nothing of any worth. It's just a name. Something like a better shop where almost every customer loses money and wake up to the fact that unlike you, you have been told all your life this is all optional and you don't need to play their rip-off game any longer unless you want to. Okay. They want you to be so burdened down with paying them money and working so hard and so long that you don't have the time, money, or energy to stop and think about what is happening to you and your family. They are desperate to stop you from just walking around, walking away from their scam and fraud, so they make every effort to connect you with the fiction, which is your straw man. Because fictitious entities like commercial companies can't have any dealing with a real man or real woman. They can only deal with another fiction, like your straw man. So we know nothing about it. And it is essential that they fool you into believing that you have to act on behalf of your straw man, which, which you don't. All of this is optional, and you allow them to abuse the natural man or woman who really are. They have a number of well proven methods and strategies of distracting you and keeping you from finding out. They want you to see a great deal of entertainment, not because there is anything wrong with entertainment, but while you are watching it, you will not be asking awkward questions. Also, they are very careful that most entertainment reinforces their make believe world and make it appear to be the real world, where everyone is under the government. Police officers uphold the law. Taxes are essential in order to keep things going. And things which are said to be bad for you are taxed heavily not to make money, but supposedly to encourage you to avoid these things. You will notice that they keep saying their invented statutes are the law, which they most certainly are not. But if they say it often enough, people start believing it and never think question of it. Yeah, think about all these laws that has been made against the people, y'all. It's time to question these things. In a way, that's what Donald Trump and Elon, that's what they doing. They tearing down some of these laws that these people have made. That's what Doge is doing. If Doge eliminate, it's a certain part of the IRS that they are eliminating, not all of the IRS, but a certain portion of the IRS, the portion that has been taking our tax money for so many years. And you have to ask yourself, where is this money going? It's not going into to us. That money is going overseas. Why are we funding another country? Okay. Why buying them, bombing them? Why they never did anything about this? They know about all of this straw man. They know about this fictitious government. So by now, you need to be saying F them also. They also have another very effective method, and that is fear. They want you to be afraid of imaginary terrorists, afraid of disasters, afraid of new diseases, afraid of foreign countries, afraid of the economy doing badly and inflation rising. And no, I don't believe that. They just taxing stuff just to tax it. That's just a way because they going down and they trying to get as much money as they can. Afraid of the economy, doing badly and inflating rising. If you doubt this, then take a look at the news and count the number of positive, uplifting news items and the number of negative, depressing news items. It doesn't make much sense in the way of research to see very heavy negative bias in the news. So, to supposedly connect you to the straw man, which they created for you when your birth was registered, they used the legalese language of connecting you with the name of the straw man. If you are ill advised enough into court, which is a corporate place of business, the court is a place of business. As the accused, you will be asked to confirm your name, quoting the full name shown on your birth certificate, which is the legal personality. Titles such as Mr., Mrs., Sir, Dr., Lord, PC, QC, or whatever are not asked for as they are not required. They just want your name. Whatever is on the birth certificate, the accused is actually the living personality. They're accusing you. us, which is the name on the birth certificate. So when they ask for the person's name, they are talking to the legal personality, us, and not the man or woman. This is because a man or woman cannot exist in the legal world. Only pieces of paper can. Hmm, that's deep. And that is something which they are very careful not to tell you. Hmm. This is really key issue. Natural law and common law are the only laws which apply to man and woman. Okay. So what I'm still learning this too, guys. This is really key. Natural law and common law is only laws which apply to man and woman, and they deal only with harming other people or causing them loss and outside of those restrictions. A man or woman has free and unlimited entitlement to do anything he or she chooses, which complies with these principles, as opposed to the acts of government, statutes, and statutory instruments. Contracts do not apply to the man or woman, but only to the piece of paper, which is the legal personality. Okay, the paper is the legal personality, the birth certificate, the bond, and which has no reality. As the legal fiction of the legal personality was created by the company called the United States Corporation created the birth certificates and created the straw man. It is that company which gets to say what the rights and duties are for that piece of paper. The United States, okay? When a human is born in the United States, the mother and father submit a birth certificate registration form, which is a piece of paper. There is no requirement under common law to do this. When any limited company or corporation is set up, there's always a certificate of registration in order to create its legal personality. And that is a piece of paper. Okay, the piece of paper is the legal personality. Please note, a United States birth certificate states quite clearly that it is not evidence of identity. Mm, it is only proof of citizenship. And they tell me a citizen is a slave. That means that it has nothing to do with a human. The birth certificate is a copyright document showing clearly that it does not belong to an individual and was created by the government. This act of registering a child makes that child a ward of the court and state, and the child can be taken away from the parents at any time. The legalese definition of words which sound